Hello and welcome to the Elsie Black Oral History Project. My name is Eileen Hyland. This project is all about sharing and preserving the real life stories of people living in social housing in Ireland, with a focus on Clúid housing. We want to highlight the everyday experiences, the memories and the voices of residents, the stories that often go unnoticed. It's about recognising the value of these communities and making sure their stories are heard and remembered. Today is the 12th of May 2025 and we're talking with William Maloney, who lives at Ard Carrig, Carrigtwohill, County Cork. So we're here in Ard Carrig today and we're talking to William Maloney. And William, do you want to introduce yourself and tell me where you were born and when you were born?
Right, I was born in Longford town, back in 1954. And the reason I'm down in Cork is because I joined the Navy at 17, back in 1971. And between going to the States for a couple of months, 3 times, basically Cork is where I've lived now. And I got married in the States and I moved back here. So Cork is the place I'm living in now, and here in Clúid for the last 15 years.
Wow, so you've been here for 15 years.
Yes. I'm one of the first to move in.
Were you?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
wow, okay. You're an original nearly.
I'm original, but as I say, in Cork, you're always, what is it?
A blow-in.
Yeah, a blow-in, exactly, yeah.
So tell me a bit about your parents and your family. Who was at home?
My mother worked as a housewife, and I came from a family of 12, 8 sisters and 4 brothers, including myself. My father worked for CIE in Longford, and we lived in, first of all, we lived in 78 Teffia Park, and then we moved to 42 because it was a bigger house. So it was called the K houses, so it was a bit more uppity, yeah.
Nice.
So I was only 12 when we moved there.
So you grew up in a council house. That sounds like a council estate.
Both council
houses.
estate, yeah. It was Teffia
Yeah.
Park was a council estate, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
right. And who was at home then? Your mum and dad and...
Well, my mum and dad, my sisters, let me see now, I'm the 5th eldest, right? So I remember my sister going away to Dublin, to work in Dublin, and then my other sister getting married, Kay, and they were gone. So, and Sandra worked, my sister Sandra worked as a dressmaker. And she was which was only down a few doors down from us, you know what I mean? So then there was John and myself left around the same time. John went for America in 1971, and I joined the Navy. And I joined the Navy a month before my sister was born, the last of the family, yeah. So I'm 17 years older than her, because my birthday was on the 15th of March, and she was born in April.
Right.
Yeah.
And how many siblings had you altogether? How many was there in your family?
Well, altogether 14, including mum and dad.
Wow,
yeah, and
right.
two unfortunately died in birth. You know,
Oh,
so,
right.
so there was 14, and it was a big family.
Big
but
house.
then there was a lot of big families in that era as well. You know, in especially in Teffia, it was like there was a competition going on. I think, you know, like my friends who joined the Navy with me, there was 14.
Yeah.
Plus the mother and father and their family, you know.
It wasn't unusual in those days.
No, it wasn't unusual.
Yeah.
It wasn't unusual.
Yeah,
No, it
yeah.
wasn't. Yeah.
Okay, so describe the house for me that you lived in. The change from the first to the second house. What age
Right.
would you have
The
been?
first one was I remember there was only 3 bedrooms upstairs, right, and one straight as you go up the stairs. It was the smallest one, and Mum and Dad took that one because there were so many.
Yeah.
So I remember, in our bedroom, 2 double beds, and we had three brothers were in one, and 3 sisters were in another one. There was no separating at that time. We didn't have a choice, you know, all the kids they had, and then there was more then in the other bedroom, you know. So.
Do you remember it being very chaotic, or was it all very organised, or do you remember?
Oh, it was. Well, I think I remember Mum would always be giving out about it. We'd be making noise when we go to bed. you know. And sometimes the stick would come out of this. You could hear the rod in the stairway, you know, the line on. You could hear the rod being pulled out. You have to keep quiet. But I mean, that happened, and it was. But most of the time, I think I'd say we supported one another. Brothers and sisters supported one another, because I don't think emotionally my mother or father were there. You know, in that sense, there wasn't. You know, to me, there was a duty, and my father worked as much overtime as he could to keep up the family. I remember that. He always used to come in with a black overall, sort of black grease. Wow. I still remember that, always that, you know. But he was very lucky in the sense too that he only lived about 500 yards from the CIE clinic anyway. Okay. So he was, we didn't have any, because we never, well, and once we didn't have a car, until for a long time. Yeah. A long time before my mum bought a car.
And would you have had like running water, electricity?
Oh yes, we had our bathroom and baths and toilet and electricity. That was no issue. Right. I don't think we had a television for starting off. We didn't have a television then. No. We actually used to remember go down to Farrell's, because they were the only one that had the television, and we just go down and have a look and see what it's like. We could, you know, yeah.
And do you remember the move to the bigger house then? What age would you have been
I do. I remember it very well, because we had to move it, and we moved our stuff, furniture, in. It wasn't an ass and cart. We were the ass. So my brother and myself would pull this down. Lucky it wasn't too far. It was from here over to the pond there, so it's just down the road. But we were actually pulling the cart, because my granny's cart was brought over, but we didn't have the ass. We couldn't keep the ass, you know. So we had to use them. So we had to move our stuff from there. And I remember Mrs. Foley, she's from Bundoran, and when we were leaving, she was very upset, because she got on so well with all of us, you know. And she said, "Oh, you're not moving away," and she was crying, God love her. And Mum didn't tell her, because she knew she'd be upset. So we moved down there. I can't really remember that much about the place. I know we had an extra room. It was a living room, and then you had your kitchen, and then you had your scullery. But there were it was a small kitchen. Then you had the dining area where you'd also watch the television, and you had the fireplace there as well. So in that sense, and we had a television then at that stage. We got a television, I remember getting that, black and white.
How old were you then when you moved, do you remember?
12. I was 12, because I remember being in the Boy Scouts at that time as well, and I joined the Boy Scouts. And I was 12, because I remember I got sick in 78 at Teffia Park, Longford. And one thing I noticed about it, when I think about it now, my mother had a female doctor, which is very unusual at that stage, but it didn't dawn on me. Because I think my mother was progressive in that sense, because she allowed us to watch the birth of a child in Africa, a woman having a baby, and she let us watch it, which, you know, some people said, "Really, your mother let you watch that?" She said, "Yeah." So in that sense, she was like that. That to her was nature, and you done it, you know. And she baked. She was a great baker. She won competition on Greena, whatever it was called, up in, And I remember her when I was in 42, and she appeared in the Evening Press. And the title was, I still see it, "The Way to a Man's Heart is Through His Stomach."
Wow.
Yeah. And she won that competition. Wow. Yeah, she was that. I remember going down and buying 5 newspapers. 5 of them.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah.
So she was a great
she was great. It was great. Apple pies, rhubarb pies, and my father was great at the gardening up in 78 where we used to live, and even because then at that stage in Council House you got a good bit of land with it. Yeah. So he planted, you know, beetroot, onions, lettuce, tomato, all that stuff. I always remember the summers that we get our own beetroot would be boiled up and all of that. There was good times and there was not so good times.
Yes,
you know? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, people were very self-sufficient in those days. And
absolutely.
They had to be.
Yes,
but you would remember those lovely
tastes
and flavours, and coming home and smelling
the apples, apple pies, and the rhubarb pies. It was lovely to make the rhubarbs because we had a load of rhubarbs in the garden, and she made the rhubarb pie. They were gorgeous. Yeah, lovely.
They worked hard, didn't they, in those days?
They did. I mean, both parents worked very hard in those days. And as I said to you, Daddy, we'd actually bring Dad down his lunch in at the time when the delivery was with milk bottles. It was the glass bottles. And Mum would make the tea in it, and we'd run down the back with tea, hurry up before it gets cold, in the glass bottle for Daddy and the sandwiches, so he wouldn't have to clock out and extra overtime.
Gosh.
You know what I mean? That's how much, you know, doing it with all the kids that were there. You know, so it was. When you think back, and it was tough it was tough on them. It was tough.
There wasn't much outside of just rearing your
no,
family,
there wasn't
really,
no,
was there?
No.
Wasn't.
There wasn't. I mean, I do remember occasions us going on the train, and we were lucky because Dad worked in the CIE, so we get a free pass.
Oh, excellent.
And we go to Dublin. I remember seeing my sister wearing the first time I see her working in a hotel, in the 4-star hotel. Where is it? The north side, the north of just outside Connolly Station. And she was wearing a black maxi coat.
Oh.
So she on that chair at the time,
Wow.
yeah.
Great memories.
Great memories, absolutely,
yeah. So your living conditions were fairly good then. You were in obviously newish council.
Oh yes,
houses.
we were. They were good. There was no you weren't cold. You weren't you know. Yeah.
And when did you move from there then? When you went to the Navy, was that your first?
At 17, then I moved. I remember coming home. My friend Francis Sheridan, who's still living in Cork himself too, saying, "Oh, there's a job down in Cork," he says, and you get £14 a week, and you live in. I said, "That's great," because I was only getting 7 where I was working in Hanglands as a store, you know, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'll go." And my mum and dad were hesitant about letting me go, and I said, "I'm not sure." I said, "Sign it, sign it." I'm sure I said that in the last interview. I said, "Sign it, sign it." So we went, and I think it was a bit of a culture shock. We were actually met off the launch by the duty petty officer, and he was from Longford, believe it or not. Wow. Desi Abbott, he was from Longford. And Desi would often bring us up and down in his car, you know, to Longford. And we got a lovely fry. And as we were passing by, like we had billets on the left hand side, and you had houses up on the right, and he pointed up, "That's where you'll be staying." And I thought he was talking about the houses, but the houses were officer houses.
Okay.
Our billets were on the left, but you had about 30 people sleeping in one room, 30 guys, you know, when you're in the. So that was a shock, but we got on with it. It was like I think when you're 17 or 18 like that, you got on with it. Now what happened with me is I fell off a cliff and damaged my knee, and I was in hospital. So my friends kept on. So when I came back, I was in a different group of people. A lot of them were from Dublin, which I didn't know them, and I wasn't happy. So I phoned up my mum, remember, from the phone box, to her phone box. That's all she had. We had the phone box outside the house, but luckily it wasn't too far away from us.
Right.
And I said, I was crying. I said, "I want to come home because I'm after missing the guys." And she said, "No, son, I think you're better off staying where you are." And I said that in the last one. I remember saying that.
It was an opportunity for you, wasn't it, really?
I
suppose she could see that.
She could see there was nothing in Longford.
Yeah.
You know, there was nothing there. What are you coming home for? You know, that sort of thing. That, I was upset, but as I said, I got on with it. And I think for some way, or for some reason, a psychological way, I just shut down that emotion. I just got on with it. And you get, you got abused, you're a culture, and the most of the people that I was in a group with was Dublin.
Okay.
You know, they were Dublin, there were different guys, and they were it was like join the Navy or go to jail, that sort of, whereas I was totally different with that. We didn't have that. Not saying that we didn't mess up ourselves when we were younger, we did. So no, I survived it, and I done the 4 years. I done the 4 years, and my brother says to me, after the 4 years, he wrote a letter, "Would you like to come over to America?" And of course, young, 21 at the time, so I did. I had to get a letter. I had my father to write a letter saying that I was on a fishing boat and that I'd be returning, and that done at that time. It wouldn't happen now. You wouldn't get away with it now. So I went, and that's where I met Christina, and we got married 6 weeks after I met her.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. We thought she was pregnant, but she lost the child very early on, of course. And then We weren't happy there. I worked with John and I stayed in his apartment. So John married Elizabeth, which is Christine's sister. You know, so two brothers, two sisters. And so I asked a friend of mine over here who's still in the Navy, what would it be if would I be able to get back? And they said, yeah, of course you would be, you know.
Wow.
So we came back. We came back after 6 months over there. I came back. Because see, I was still working there illegally. My brother got me someone else's social security number, who was left the country, they were gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I was able to get that. So that's how I was working there illegally. So we came back and joined the Navy again.
Yeah.
And no, I was quite happy with that. Then we bought our own house, a 5-bedroom bungalow at the time, very big. I don't know why, when I think about it now, how big it was, but it was going pretty cheap. But little did we realise that the roof on the kitchen was all, it when it rained, it leaked, but we didn't know at the time, it was summer. But that was it, and we done bits and pieces to it because the money, like, while it was good in the Navy, you got more money when you went to sea, which is handy, you know. So I was at sea a lot, and my wife actually, Christina, who didn't know anyone, because she lived now first when I came back from America, I wasn't in a house then. The first 4 years, no. We lived in apartments, we lived in different apartments, we moved 3 or 4 times.
And where were you based then?
Cove.
Oh, in Cove.
So I lived in Cove, yeah. The first 4 years that I done in the Navy, I was based in the base. We lived in the base.
Yes,
you know, you didn't have to move out.
And what was, when you were telling me about that and the billets and the officers' houses, what was the accommodation like in where you were for those first 4 years?
It was, as I said, you're sleeping with 30 other guys. It's not. You know,
It's just like a big dormitory?
Yes, a big dormitory.
Yeah.
That's what there are, a big dormitory, you know. And then that was when you were in training. So when you passed out then, you got into billets. They were like sectioned off, but the top was left bare, you know, it wasn't closed off completely. So you could still hear things, but it was a better condition. So you had, there was three people to a room.
Okay.
In some rooms. And some the bigger rooms that'd be 4 or 5. But the room that I was in was 3 people to a room. So that was better. You know, that was better. Yeah.
And what was the eating arrangements and things? Was it?
Oh, the meeting was well, food wasn't great now, to be
Wasn't
honest with you. No, I'll have to say that wasn't.
But they
no.
gave you great fry the first day, you were saying, when you went
Oh, lovely fry. We got a fry.
It wasn't
Because
like
it was
that
the
every
evening
day.
time. We didn't arrive until about coming down on the train. They gave us a free pass. And I remember my mother buying me a new lovely, a grey jumper, polo neck, with an imitation tie in the front of it. And that coloured, mustard coloured sort of pants. And shoes. I remember buying that, brown shoes. And it was 7 o'clock before we arrived. Beautiful. The weather was like now. The heat it was gorgeous. And that was in April.
Right.
We actually joined April Fool's Day. Francis, or Anthony, my friend, says the second. No, I said it was the first. It was the first. Yeah.
Okay. So after you moved into your own home then, I suppose being out at sea was a big change.
Yes, I believe it or not, I was very fortunate in the first 4 years that I actually didn't go to sea. I managed to dodge the bullet in that way. But the second, I enjoyed going to sea. I enjoyed the sea. It was on the minesweepers. We had minesweepers. We only had 3 minesweepers at the Ground, the Fola and the Banda. And that's all we had, because they gave up the corvettes. They were just as I came in, the corvettes were gone. Actually, I can still remember them being in the basin, in the naval base, but they weren't in use anymore. So it was them, and they're like matchsticks in the sea.
Really?
Oh, every time I went to sea, outside Roach's Point, and there was a swell, I got sick.
Oh.
But then after that, I was fine. But no matter what it was, every time I went out, I get sick, and then it was fine, you know.
Yeah.
And the minesweepers were like, the sleeping quarters were very small. It was very condensed, and very hot and sticky, you know. And
how many would be on the ship, on the mines?
I would say it had about 30 of a crew altogether.
Right.
Yeah, even on minesweepers. Seamen's, mechanicians, tells, signals, captain, you had exec, and you had a navigation officer, 3 officers. Well, it could be, I'd say 25 the most, maybe there might be, and that.
Yeah.
And then when we moved up to when we got new ships, so I went on the Grania and I was on the Bamba. And then I remember them getting decommissioned, and they got a new ship, the Emer, but I never went on the Emer one. Then they had the Aoife and the Aisling. I was on them, and I did enjoy the sea, and it was great camaraderie, as I said before, on other things. It was great friendships there, which I still have to this day,
Brilliant. So tell me about when you moved in here. So you were here, one of the first residents, were you?
I was one of the first to come in here. That was back in 15 years ago, as I said. I'll be 15 years in November this year. 15 years, yeah. I was sharing a house with a friend of mine who worked with me in Swisscos at the time. And I was on the housing waiting list. So that's how Clúid got it, And I was sent a letter, would you be interested in an apartment? And in Carrig, and I jumped at it because at that time I had the transport, I had a car.
And where were you living at this stage?
I was living in Cove, in a 2-bedroom bungalow with Angela. So I was living with her, and at that time, when I think about it now, I was paying €80 a week, and I'm still only paying €80 a week. Do you know what I mean? 15 years later, when I was just thinking about that when I was looking at it today. I was saying, looking at the thing, I was thinking, that's what I was paying then. I'm paying 84 now. Gosh. Not much of a difference, but it's good with this place, Okay. So and as I say, I moved so many times, But this is my final move, I would say.
That must be a nice feeling too. That this is your home, like. Do you feel secure here?
It's when I got it, like, and I know I was thinking about Angela, God love her now, because she'd probably have to move again because she couldn't afford to pay 160 at that time for the house, and she even, would you believe, the house that she lived in was her cousin's, and he wouldn't move, he wouldn't budge on the thing, so she had to move. Now she's very fortunate. I met her there last year, actually, and she's after getting a house herself.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, down in Cove, the council, was great. Yeah.
Great. So, how did you come to live here then? So you were on the housing list. How long were you waiting on the housing list, would you say?
Oh, no, I have to think about that.
Just a rough idea.
Yeah, I'd say I'd be waiting about 15 years.
Were you?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh, that's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, I would have been, yeah. Because I separated when I was 40. So 15 years from 71 now. So I've been waiting, I've been waiting that much longer, yeah.
Would you almost given up hope, I'd say, had you?
I would, really, I would. It didn't think myself. I thought I'd never get one.
Yeah.
I thought I'd never get something, So when it did come up, I didn't care where it was, to be honest with you. Now, I'd have loved it was Cove, and I was told by a councillor that I know there that they were going to go to Cove. And even to this day, to be honest with you, Eileen, if they built something and said, would you move to Cove, I would. Because I'm going in and out to Cove all the time to my grandchildren.
Oh, right.
Do you know what I mean? And my friends are there. Yeah. But my friend Catherine wouldn't like that idea because she calls this her holiday home, So,
you'd like to live by the sea, you probably enjoy.
I love the sea. I don't know, I'm dryland sailor they call me, but I love the sea, yeah. I don't know what it is, maybe because I'm born, that's Piscean, the fish, I don't know what it is.
Okay, so what was your first impression then when you came here that first day and had a look around? What did you think of this place?
It didn't faze me, the actual outside. I just wanted to see what the apartment was.
Okay.
So when I was brought up to the apartment, the apartment was totally bare.
Was it?
Yeah, except for the presses around the kitchen. No, if you hadn't, there was no fridges, no nothing.
Yeah.
You had to furnish it yourself. Okay. Yeah, so it was completely bare. So I saw it, and it was big. Mm-hmm. To me, it looked big in the, and I said that's fine. I was just delighted.
Wow. Yeah.
And I had some money saved up, and I also got a grant from social services for to get stuff. So I got the floors done. I got everything done like that before I moved in.
Right.
So that's why it was nearly Christmas before I actually moved in, even though I got it in November. I signed the agreement in November. Yeah. And no, I love it. I love it here now. Yeah.
Yeah. And what does home mean to you? Home.
Home means friendships, and home means family to come in and stay. Like I would love to have a 2-bedroom for my grandchildren, but I didn't. But the point was, I think about it now, you make your home like, I got a bed couch so they could stay. And even though it was like sometimes chaotic with them, it's still, I wouldn't change that. You know, and that's what I mean. Everyone can have a house, but a home is where you have friends in, and that's what makes a home, and family as well. You know, so that's still going on to this day. And I mean, I have a grandson now. He's only a year old, so I know he's going to be coming down here. And I know Leo, 10, he still wants to come down here. He only said to me the day before yesterday, when are you going to come back down to your place again? Because he doesn't have a father. His father passed away last year, or the year before last. And it's like I'm the dad as well as the granddad, you know.
Wow.
We'll call me granddad, yeah.
That's really nice. So you've lived in lots of other kinds of housing before you came?
Well, yeah, I lived in lots of flats, apartments,
Yeah.
you know.
So how does this compare?
Oh, there's no comparison. I think that in the sense that it's all the mod cons. It's where I'm living. Like when I go up to Longford and I'm going to home to my sister or something like that, the difference in, I don't turn on the heat very much because I'm in the middle floor, so I don't have, I don't need it that much at all. My son, when he comes in here, says it's very hot in here, and I could have the window open. So in that sense, I don't need much heat to keep going, and it's perfect. It's everything is there for you, and not only that. Then if there's something goes wrong, like when we were living in another apartment or house, you could be waiting months before they fix something.
Right.
Here, it's like it's done within the space of a week or two, you know, and that's the good thing about it. Which thankfully I don't have much wrong with the place anywhere, you know.
Brilliant.
It's fine. It's great, you know.
Okay, great. So what do you love most about your home, or the neighbourhood, or this place? This.
I'll tell you now. Before the schools went up, now I know it's busier, but it's quieter and it's secure.
Yeah.
That's the thing I look about it. It's secure in the sense that you might hear kids every now and again scream, but that's fine, and I'm living in the front. So the extra traffic that's after coming after the school's been built and those apartments being redone and lived in, is like I could wake up and listen to. I used to have my window open before all of this happened. Now I have to keep it closed because the sound will wake me up too much because there's constant flow of traffic. But I like the area for the simple reason is that was a wilderness over there, and it still is, because they can't build on it. No, I'm sure they can't because of the electric cables, the wires, the telephone, or the ESB. And but I still like to see the progress of buildings as well, you know. But so I'm lucky in that sense that whereas where Peggy is living, they're supposed to be building there now, and that could block out. That would be nice, but they can't do it here, which is great.
So you have a lovely open aspect here.
Yes.
You've got all that space in front of you, which is lovely.
Yes, absolutely.
It's
No, I love that. And you see kids going by, going to school. You see them walking their dogs, and you know, things like that. Yes, it is good. Now, but as I say, I'm sort of commuting between Cove and here a lot lately because of the new child, because of Tegan. And I watch him when she goes to work at times and things like that. So I also I'm the member of O&E, and so that's I go collecting for them in Cove as well when the ships come in. I'll be doing that Thursday as well. Yeah.
Great. So you keep busy.
I'm busier now than I ever was. Before when I was working. Yeah.
That's a good complaint.
Well, it is actually. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
And I was just cutting the grass there today. And I saw the car, and I was wondering who the car that was when I saw the thing at the back. So you were here all the time when I was cutting the grass. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Great. So were there any challenges to come in to live here? Or what was the biggest challenge for you to come and live here? It sounds like it
Well,
was...
there wasn't big, for the simple reason is I had a car at that time.
Okay.
So I was able to commute to and from Cove, and that's when, like, I was working in Swissco's. I wasn't working in Swissco's when I got this place, 2008. I was. No, I wasn't. I wasn't.
Right,
I wasn't.
retired?
Just I had no. I didn't. I was working in the Sears Art Centre in Cove
All right.
on a FOSS scheme, but I got 10 years out of it. I got 10 years to 66. I
Right.
got 10 years, and then I had the car up until I crashed it, and to be honest, I couldn't afford another one.
Yeah.
So I used to get the bicycle from here, and at that time there was no train station in Carrickhool, so I had to cycle up to Glanthorne and leave the bike there and get on the train. And with the work in Sears Art Centre, it was you have to work at night as well, because we'd have music sessions on, and well, I was lucky that I could stay in Cove then that night, or maybe I'd cycle home, depending on how the weather was.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Do you think that people outside, or what do you think the people outside this community think of the people who live here?
I'd say a lot of them think it's an old folks' home. That's which it doesn't bother me. But any of my friends that come here and own houses would say, like Katrina, they think it's lovely.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a stigma in that sense. A lot of people, because of certain individuals that are here, might say it's an old folks' home. But and some people get upset about that, but that wouldn't bother me. That's fine. If they want to think it's one flew over the cuckoo's nest, that's fine with me. I don't mind. Yeah.
And do you think, have you ever felt judged or treated differently because you're living
No,
in a
absolutely
social
not.
housing?
I read that. I said no. I
Yeah.
thought about that. I did not. No,
Yeah.
I would not. Actually, people are saying it's a great place to live.
Yes.
So there's no way that I would say people judge. No.
Yeah.
No.
It's absolutely beautiful
I
place
said
to live.
it's great. It's perfect. It's just sorry to see that there's not so many people using it. That's
Yes.
that's the sad part.
Yeah.
But as a woman said to me before, who's part of Clúid, she said, "You're lucky to have 10 people at your meeting." She says, I have a place where there's 150 people living, and she said, "There's the 10 come down. We're lucky." So
Yeah.
it's just it depends. There's when I moved here first, like we had meetings. We had meetings. There were like big cat fights down here sometimes, but all that stopped. Then we stopped because I became the chairman at first when it started here. So I've been on the committees ever since I came here, But I vowed that this is my last year. I said that, but touch wood, better touch the wood. But I don't. I stick to it. If there's no one else, the simple reason is that we can get grants
Right.
to do some exercises from the council. So if that stops, then we
Yeah.
don't get them.
Yeah.
So I would stay. I would do it. I'd stay for that reason, but the monthly meetings, I would curtail them. I think there should be once every 3 or 4 months, because we don't. Same thing's going on again.
Right.
No.
Right. So you wouldn't really feel that there's much of a stigma associated
No,
with social
I
housing
personally
here?
wouldn't feel anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. So what sort of community existed here when you moved in? Obviously you were new, so everybody was new. Was it hard to make friends and things when you moved in first?
Yes, it was, and the fact then, you see, that I was working in Cove, so I was going out in the morning, but I wasn't working all the time, and coming back in, and then if I wasn't working, I'd go in and visit friends as well. So it was just what do you call it?
A B&B almost.
Yeah, a bit like that. It was, and then not only that, we didn't have the lovely garden that we have now. Now we have the the bushes that are there. Mick Sexton, in fairness, and he done them, and he done some out the back, but we didn't have as good as a garden here, except for Peggy and John and Margaret when they started coming in, which they changed. So when I look back now, the place was to me quite dead.
Right.
Until Peggy and John came in, and they started these things, which was great. And you help out with that. That to me was good, and ever since that, and it's good because it needed that. Like it would definitely have looked like an old folks' home when we moved in first.
Yeah.
In comparison, because people were not gelling together, but it was only Peggy and Margaret and John who actually started it up, which was great, and it's going ever since. You know what I mean?
That's great. So is there anything that would help here to build a sense of community? I know you were saying that there's a few people who do things. I'm sure as part of the committee that you probably have tried over the years to do things. Is there? What would it take to get people more involved?
I'll tell you now, it's very hard. You have the usual suspects. It's like I know Martin was talking to me yesterday about they had their Friday night fish and chips night, call it, Friday night. They're down. Oh, he said you should have come down. But you see, every Friday I'm babysitting. And by the time I get home, the 6:30 train is 7 o'clock and they're starting.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just too much. Now, for instance, this weekend coming up, I'm going into Clúid Friday night. You know, I won't be here.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, and I did start it, and it's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
It is a good thing to have, and it's very enjoyable. But as I said to you, Eileen, it's the same people.
Yeah.
It's the same, and you're not going to change that because there isn't a change in people here at the moment. There isn't anyone new coming in. Like the girl that you met going in the door there now, she speaks very little English. She does her own thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people just do their own thing. They don't.
And that's fine too.
Oh, but that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. When you say like, is there anything you could change? There isn't, because we've advertised. Like, for instance, you know, we always done the chair yoga, and we'd advertise. There's only 4 people will come, and it's free. Do you know what I mean? It's free. And I'm saying to myself, you know, there's no people, and some of them are younger than us, and they still won't come. So, like, you can take your horse to water, but you can't make them drink it, and that's the way it goes.
That's it. It sounds like you tried everything.
Well, we have. We have outings, you know, overnights. We just, you know, decided we went to Killarney a few times, which was great. But then again, the same people. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. What do you wish people understood about life in social housing? It sounds like you don't feel yourself that you'd have any stigma or that you'd look down on anybody who lives in social housing. So that might be.
No, I wouldn't, because you see, I came from it.
Of course.
I came from it in Teffia Park. You know, I grew up with it. I was bred into that. So it's like, that's what it was, a council house. That to me is, so what, you know? Now, eventually our parents got to own their own house. But I mean, it was council housing, you know. And that
so maybe it's more people who haven't grown up in that situation that would look down on people who do live.
I think so, but I think that's getting. I don't think that's as prevalent today as it was 20 years ago. Yeah. I don't think so. I think that stigma is gone, as far as I can see. I mean, that's social housing. I think people will jump at the chance of social housing from them. They will. So I don't think there's any stigma attached to that, and it doesn't even enter my mind. Yeah. You know. Yeah.
And if you could send a message to decision makers or developers, what would it be?
Build more of these.
Right.
Build more of these. That's one thing I said to the CEO when I met him years ago. I think it was in Cork. And I said, like, they're originally, Clúid was originally a British company. They came over from Britain. Right. Yeah, that's that. And I said, no disrespect to you, I said, but I can't understand why the Irish government didn't come up with an idea like this before. Now they're supporting them. But I'm saying, hello, why didn't you come up with this? Yeah. You know, why didn't obvious. You? Like, it's like, you know, these people who, like, we hear it now in the news because housing is so hard to get, and older people want to give up their house to give it to their sons or daughters or something like that. And they die to come into a place like this, some of them would, you know. Now, I know we have this tendency in this country that we must own our home. That wouldn't bother me. That wouldn't. The only reason I'd like to own my home is maybe to give it to my son. But my ex-wife has a home. That if he wants. But, you know, it's. I just think it's an old-fashioned thing. I think it's becoming less and less in this country. I think we're moving forward, and people are going to live in apartments now. They're not going to live in houses. If they want to have kids, and all that they're going to have to do is 3 or 4 more kids. They're not going to have 12 like my mother and father did, you know. Yeah. So I think in that sense, attitudes are changing, and I know that my grandkids are like, my daughter-in-law is living in social housing, and they're quite happy. And she was saying, oh, you know, my daughter said, I can get this when mum goes, you know, something like that, you know. But so it doesn't. that stigma's gone. That's nothing. There's nothing there. To me, there isn't. To me, I don't see it. I don't feel it. I don't hear it.
Yeah. Anyway, I think is there anything else you'd like to add? Had you any other
yeah, there was questions there on it at the bottom, like what would you like to see change or something.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
definitely.
I felt, to me, one of them is people should be allowed animals.
Oh yes.
Because I can see a lot of people here who had animals, and now they can't. See, I'm lucky. I can go to my things and I see animals.
Right.
And another thing, when they're building, it would be lovely if we could have a bit of a veranda. You know, like they have over there, like if it wasn't their fault, they bought the building the way it was, but it'd be nice to be able to sit out
Yes.
on your a small little, not a big thing, a small little thing which they could on. A friend of mine who's an engineer says I could do that for you, you know, no problem. It's like 4 feet out and 4 feet wide, that'd be fine. That would be lovely if there's something like that. Now, don't get me wrong, you can open your window and you can eat out the balcony, you know.
But it's lovely to be able to step out into
absolutely,
an outside space.
yeah. It would be lovely. It would have been lovely to have, like they have over there. I envy them now. I'd jump at the chance if I got one of them.
Wow.
Oh, I would. I would have just for the balcony. It's just something, and especially in the weather that you have now.
Yes, yeah,
you know?
yeah. Of course, you do have lovely gardens here as well, which.
Oh, now the garden. Now, in fairness to Peggy and John and Margaret again, like they get on well with it. They've done an awful lot.
Yeah.
They've done a lot for this place now. I have to say that. And only for them, it wouldn't be like what it is.
Yeah.
And you see the back garden out there now.
Yeah.
I mean, we're after setting tomatoes and potatoes and onions and
Fabulous.
lettuce and carrots and we've done all that, and it's like that's good. And like tomatoes that I set last year, the taste of them was just divine.
Wow.
Cherry tomatoes, they were gorgeous and they just tasted so different than what you buy in the supermarket. Yeah,
no
so
comparison.
that's a good thing. And then I grew up, you see, my father
right.
doing all that, so I know it's just second nature to me, and I like doing that too.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that. I wouldn't like to live in a place that didn't have it. I'd be saying, what would I be doing with myself then?
Yeah.
You know, I love going out in the grass and using the push more instead of the electric more.
Right.
Once to keep the grass down, that's fine. It's not too hard, you know, and it's good exercise. You know, that's the way I look at it. Yeah, I love it. No, I like it. No, I enjoy here, and I must say I'm very happy. I'm very happy where I am.
Yeah.
I am.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's super. Thank you very much.
Not at all, Eileen.
I will press pause.